Yikes! Welcome back to another episode of Bet GPT. We're here. It's episode 57 on May 30th. Recording a little bit late on the East Coast. Thank you for staying up, Slade. I know this afternoon, it was rough for you. Chicago Cubs. I should say rough for us. I'm a Cubs fan too, and they obviously have been struggling. I'm just going to let you talk things through kind of what's going on. I guess just to give the listeners who aren't familiar with the NL Central standings right now, Cubs are slumping. Cardinals are playing really well. Brewers are having a solid year. Brewers are sitting there at 33 and 23. They're up 5 games on the Cardinals, who are in second place at 500, and the Cubs just dip below 500 at 28 and 29. So what say you, Slade?
We're not a very good baseball team.
Is that going to continue the whole? Can they grow into a good team?
They can't play this bad for the whole year. I mean, they would be a 60-win team if they did that. So there is going to be positive regression coming. The worry is that similar to last year, you put yourself in a hole. So like a year ago at this time, the Cubs were like 6 games under 500. So we're still 5 games ahead of pace from last year. A few differences from this year and last year's team had like a positive run differential. It felt like the process for how they were doing things was right. It just felt like they were a much better defensive team. I think they were like top in the NL. Right now they're near the bottom. They lead the league in outs on the base paths. So they're just not playing good baseball. The bullpen is still an issue. Who would have thought that bringing back the bullpen that struggled at the end of last year and making next to no changes would lead to the same results this year? There's been some bad luck. Obviously, Dansby's missed time, Sia's missed time, Cody. There's been 15 different players on the IL. But with that said, they've still had some of the best starting pitching in all of baseball, and they're wasting it. And I think that's part of the frustration for me and Cubs fans is you're getting amazing starting pitching and you're losing games. And it's either partially because of your bullpen, the first month, but lately it's just been the offense. They don't score runs. I mean, if you go through their previous games, almost all of them, they've had 1 or fewer runs going into the 9th inning, and then they've had some fake rallies that have kind of helped the offense look even better than they really performed. Their last 2 wins have come in extra innings. So with the runner starting on second, they're not exactly getting the job done against any other team starters, no matter what that player's ERA is, no matter if they came from AAA. They faced Skeens, they faced Jared Jones, they faced some Sonny Gray and Fried and some good pitchers. But there's also some scrubs in there that they couldn't get to. I mean, heck, they had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning, through the 7th inning with Ben Brown the other night, and they almost lost. It had to go to extra innings because they couldn't score more than 1 run. They're 8-2 in Shota Imanaga starts. And if you take him and the 10 starts he's had, they're a well below 500 team. I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things wrong that I don't know how you fix it. And if it gets to the point you're like 5+ games back, I mean, do you trust Jed to be the one making buy and sell decisions at the deadline if he's on the hot seat?
Yeah, it's a precarious situation. And what I did want to bring up too is Imanaga, obviously the ace. I think he's still first or second in the NL in ERA, even though he got blown up yesterday. That being said, he was on, I think it was 8 days of rest, something along those lines. Council obviously thought he was playing chess, not checkers, giving a little bit of advantage, and that really backfired for them.
And now he's giving him an extra day's rest before his next start. So it makes me wonder, is he healthy, or why are we doing? Things are going fine. He has momentum. There's 1 rain out, and suddenly you're pitching him twice over a 14-day stretch. That doesn't really make sense to me.
And considering it's not like he's a young player anyway. He's been playing professional baseball for probably 10 years or so. And if you're that worried about his workload, just have him pitch 5 innings then if you're gonna be weird about
Yeah,
it. But
it there's a lot of things that just don't really make sense. Sending down PCA didn't really make sense. He was like your second highest position player in WAR. I know some of our listeners don't love hearing about WAR, but uh, the stats are the stats. Um, and then you called up Luis Vasquez, and in those 10 days that he was up, he pinch ran once. There was a week where we played down to man because they didn't want to put Nico on the IL. I just don't really understand some of the moves that we've been making in terms of personnel, and then also to add insult to injury, Jeremiah Estrada has been the best reliever in baseball this year, not named Mason Miller, and the Cubs DFA'd him because they didn't want him on the 40 man because they had to make sure they had a spot for Nick Madrigal, who
yeah, I think he has 13 strikeouts in a row for the Padres.
yeah. So it's things are bad. Things are bad.
From a betting perspective, Cubs are plus 320 to win the Central, Brewers minus 155, Cardinals plus 470.
The Cubs
Um,
went from plus 130 to plus what'd you say 340,
320, yeah.
320 in like a 3 week span.
Yeah. They're still at plus 110 to make the playoffs, the fourth best odds in the NL. Do you agree with that? Because the NL as a whole is not very strong. We're seeing the
I was gonna
Diamondbacks
say,
not as good. Giants, I still think the Cubs are a better team than them.
I
You
think
know,
it's
it's
fair just because you have all of these teams that are probably gonna have to make buy or sell decisions. And Jed, like I said, his hands are tied. He has to buy because if he sells, it's him admitting he made mistakes and he has failed as the general manager. You can't have your what 5 of the last like they've been rebuilding since December of 2020 when they traded Yu Darvish to the Padres, and so to be in 2024 and to still be conceding seasons would put Jed firmly on the hot seat. So he's gonna buy a reliever or two. He's gonna buy a catcher because we have the worst catcher combo in the league, not just in terms of hitting, but in terms of allowing steals. And then today, I would argue that part of the reason they lost today was because Amaya couldn't block a ball.
yeah,
There
in the
was
eighth
there was
inning.
one inning where the ball didn't they didn't hit a ball further than 37 feet, and we gave up a run because of an infield single, a steal, a passed ball, infield single.
Yeah, and if you're a team that is prioritizing defense and like contact hitters and you're giving up like hitting home runs on offense, you cannot have those type of innings. It'd be totally different if we had like, six guys out there who are hitting 30 plus homers. It's like, all right, we're giving a little bit on defense, but that is not the case at all. And that's
Yeah,
where it gets frustrating.
you play Nick Madrigal at third for like a late inning defensive replacement, and he boots a ball to make an error and lose you the game. And then ESPN Carl Ravitch on Sunday Night Baseball because he got a hit when we were losing the Cardinals or whatever, and he's like the on base machine, Nick Madrigal. He's got a 283 on base. He's hitting like 200. We got like 5 or 6 guys hitting around 200. Dansby and Morel are like 201. It's pretty. Amaya's got to be close. Gomes has to be close.
Yeah, Morel's at 198, Swanson 205, Amaya 196. Bush has fallen down to 241. We've just seen a lot of struggles from Bellinger, Bush, and Morel. I know they've all hit home runs within the last 36 hours, 48 hours. So that's good to see. Morel hitting that home run to tie the game, get the juices flowing. That's good to see too. But there just hasn't been enough pop offensively. And
Yeah, it's
yeah,
kind of like
I
all
do.
the things we were worried about coming into the season are now showing themselves as true. So it's like who Jed thinks he's so smart. We all saw it. He thought that we were wrong, and now it's looking like he was wrong.
Hey, I'm just hoping this puts a little pressure on him in the offseason, and to keep his job, he convinces ownership to sign Soto. So
I
let's just hope
agree.
that's the end goal here.
I keep seeing all these like Vladdy Jr. takes. Do you like that idea?
No, especially if you have to give up Horton or who's Alcantara.
Yeah.
Is that his name? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up top prospects. I believe because like The Blue Jays have been shopping Bichette and Vlad Jr. Aren't they free agents next year?
Bichette, yes. Vladdy has an extra year of control.
Okay. I don't know. I don't see it. I mean, Guerrero is last year he hit 264, 26 homers. He is a 3-time All-Star. He'll be in the home run derby every year. But if it weren't his last name, I feel like people would not be as juiced about him.
I
That's my
tend to
opinion.
agree. I do think it is a potential buy low opportunity.
Yeah, that's
Like if
that's the other thing of it. You're buying him as low as
yeah,
possible.
that's the risk and reward is you're getting a guy who we've seen play as a top 5 MVP candidate and he's like 25, but also yeah, he hasn't been great. He's going to want to get paid. He's probably a future DH. I do think it would be fun having him in Wrigley Field and hitting tanks, but yeah, I'm not giving up Cade Horton either, despite him getting hurt today. So it's been like a rough, just like 2 weeks. It seems like every time something goes wrong, it just like compounds into something else.
Just to clear things up on the contracts, I'm reading both Bichette and Guerrero after 2025 are free agents.
Oh, so they both have 2 years.
Yeah, a year and a half rental there. So
We don't really
obviously,
need Bichette as much, but I would rather have
no.
Danny Jensen. Danny Jensen's the one who's up after this year, their catcher. And
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
yeah,
Cubs have talked about him because
yeah,
obviously, like I said, our catching situation is pretty rough. That's a
yeah,
move you almost want to make sooner rather than later because you need the time between your catcher and your pitchers to develop that
yeah.
relationship. But
Yeah, I think, trading for him wouldn't be you're not gonna have to give up that much for him. If you go for Vlad or Bichette, I guess mainly Vlad, like, I don't think you make that trade and give up 2 top prospects without full intention of, like, signing an extension. There's no way they'd go 2 top 5 prospects who are top, 30, 40 in the whole MLB for then losing him in 2 years. I can't see that. So but all right, yeah, we just want to touch base on the Cubs. We know a lot of listeners are fans, so if you're not a Cubs fan, thank you for bearing with us for the first 10 minutes. But yeah, it's been tough. Let's stay in the division. FanDuel has a couple of fun props I wanted to ask you about. Cincinnati Reds. They've had a lot of injuries. They're a weird team. They're not kind of. I remember last year, everyone was like, "Oh, could they like make a playoff run? Is this like a World Series type of team, dark horse?" This year, not really the case, but Ellie De La Cruz trying to get in the MVP conversation. He's kind of the outside looking in. I can pull up his current numbers here, but just looking, they're saying him to have 100 plus stolen bases is 9-1.
he does
Eight,
play the Cubs a lot. You got to keep that in mind. If he gets on base, because I think the Cubs are pitching like Steele and Assad, like he's going to face some good pitching, starting pitching. But if he gets on base, he's automatically on second.
yeah, yeah, no, he totally, and he's gonna take. He steals for third as well. Um, yeah, so he's currently. Let's look at the stolen base leaders here. Um, Obviously he's in the lead with 31. Cabello for Tampa Bay is at 20. Turang, Milwaukee's at 19. Acuna 16. Yeah, that's something we can talk about too. Acuna Jr. torn ACL out for the year. I know in our MLB preview pod we talked. At least I know I did quite a bit about him going for MVP. And then last episode we talked about him struggling, and then sure enough, an injury happened. So
We've been hit with the injury bug on some of these futures. We liked Strider as well. Have to think the Phillies are now the favorite in the NL East because you took their best starter, their best position player away, and the Phillies are just looking great too. They look like they have 4 at least starters that are probably better than everybody outside of Max Fried and the Braves rotation.
yeah, they're already up 6 games on the Braves, which is pretty impressive. 3.5 game better record than the Dodgers as well. And I know the Phillies are not a team the Dodgers want to play. I think they're
No,
afraid
they
of
have the Kyle
them.
Schwarber effect.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. Um, yeah, okay. Let's
Well,
just
real
cut.
quick,
Yeah, yeah.
did you hear that big news out of New York this week or today, this afternoon? Shook the nation.
What was that?
Uh, the NFL has decided to make the Bears the face or the subject of Hard Knocks this year.
Yeah, so I guess every year there's like 7 or 8 eligible teams based off like I think you can have like a first year head coach, blah blah blah. Um, this is the first year since 2018 that Hard Knocks is going with a team who had the number 1 pick, and that was the Browns back in the day, and that was a pretty
Oh, that's a good
entertaining.
omen.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I just think Hard Knocks. I think it'll be fun. Obviously, I don't think the Bears are going to be good like you think they are, but it's going to be
Okay.
fun to see the personalities for sure.
I think 2018 was the last time I watched like every episode of Hard Knocks. I usually watch like an
Yeah.
episode here or there. Like I did like some of the episodes last year with Rogers. I do worry a little bit about the distraction aspect of it. It just seems like teams who are on that don't win playoff games. Um, but the Bears were like one of 3 teams who had never done it or hadn't done it in like super long time, and so they if it was like if you don't do it this year, you're gonna have to do it in the next few years. So I think they were just like screw it, let's get it done. The league obviously wants it with Caleb and Rome and everything. So I'll be tuned in, making sure my HBO subscription is renewed and locked and ready to go. And Bear and Charlie and I have already been talking about it. We're like, we're going to be blue balled all August, getting ready for the season, but still exciting.
Are you trying to go to any Chicago Bears games in person this year? Have you looked at their schedule?
They don't come to Charlotte, so probably not. Um, it would have to be later in the year. I feel like I'm kind of booked through like October.
Popular guy, kind of booked.
A
Yeah, it
lot
does.
weddings, man.
Yeah, yeah. Does not look like they have a lot anywhere near you. They do have a game in Indianapolis, and you and I had a nice visit to Indy. I believe that was in what
Hmm.
2017 or so.
Yes, it was the day
Uh,
after Iowa lost to Penn State because Geno Stone didn't, or is it? Yeah, it was Geno Stone didn't reach his arm out long enough, and they punted the quarterback Trace McSorley after winning the game punted the ball. That was the game that Saquon made himself a lot of money
yep,
on national TV.
I remember
Um,
that. Yeah,
yeah, that
so
was
we
tough,
we
man. I was
go to that
pissed.
we go to that game. It's a night game at Kinnick. Drive back to the Quad Cities, which is like an hour drive. Sleep from like 1 to like 6. Slade is like deathly ill over the whole night. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I didn't feel good. I don't know if I was just like exhausted beyond belief because then I woke up and I felt fine. And
That's
then I
probably
napped
just
in the
that's
car.
probably just how you feel after each Iowa loss. You just
Yeah,
have to
you're
get
right. I don't think
sick
I've
for a
ever
couple
felt good
hours. Yeah.
after an Iowa win that I'm up till 1 a.m.
Yeah,
Um,
so we get to Indy, and I think this was my one and only appearance in public wearing my Deshaun Kaiser DH Gate $12 jersey. So good times, good times.
I will say credit to Lucas Oil. That was like the easiest I've ever gotten in and out of a stadium.
Yeah, it was not
Like
bad.
parking,
And
everything. Like easier than a Milwaukee Brewers game. Like it was in and out, no problem.
mhm. And
So
just
credit
just
to them.
just to continue the story time real quick, I remember you and we bought like $8 tickets at the top, but 10 minutes before kickoff. So some stadiums let you do this, some don't. You can actually look at like the seat by seat availability on Ticketmaster to see what's available. And once the clock hits like game time noon, um, they don't sell tickets anymore. So we like refreshed it at like 11:58, 59. Saw there were 2 tickets in the lower bowl right behind the Browns bench, like 8 rows up, and we just walked straight down there. And they let us sit there.
And I
So
remember the guy next to us said something about how much he paid for the tickets, and you were like, "Yeah, we were around the same." But it really we paid like $8.
yeah, good times.
Uh,
Um,
life hack.
life hack. There you go. NFL, like I don't know. There's not really much else to talk about NFL wise. I think as we go on in the summer, there's going to be a little bit less and less to talk about, so we can start breaking out win totals, NFL awards. I think as we get closer to August, we can do that. Just the issue with that is there's going to be injuries. There's going to be some changes with rosters and whatnot. So kind of hard to say who's going to be good and who's not going to be good as of right
Yeah.
now.
For
Um,
college football, I feel like
yeah.
I mean their season obviously starts a little sooner. I feel like there's already a market that's moving pretty frequently. So for the sake of the 6-pack, let's just lock in this Iowa over 7.5 wins.
Sure. Okay.
Because
Iowa
every
was
year at this
7.5.
time, this is the best time to do it, is in the summer. It's minus 120.
Okay.
I really don't see a scenario where we lose. I take that back. I see a scenario, but I feel better about it than I probably did last year at this time, just because they're returning so much. The schedule's pretty light again. Somehow they keep getting lucky with these schedules, but also their backup quarterback is significantly better this year. They're probably 3 quarterbacks better than Deacon Hill. So it would take some insane bad luck for us to have a worse offense. I think I've said that like 3 years in a row,
Let's
but I believe it this time. I
let's
don't
let,
think it can get worse.
let's go rapid fire. I'm just going to give you the opponent. You tell me win or loss. We'll see how many
All
wins
right,
we get here. Illinois State at home.
win,
Okay. Iowa State at home.
win. It's at home.
Troy.
All of our big toss-up games are at home. Troy's a good team. I'm a little nervous for that
We
one.
just drove through Troy, Alabama a couple weeks back.
It was horrendous, but that might mean they have some grit.
Yeah.
I'll give it a win.
Okay. So that's 3-0. Good start.
That's honestly not the worst loss if you're going to lose a game, a non-conference game that's not Iowa State and it's not an FCS team. Like, if you're going to lose, hey, I picked that one out of the first 3.
Yeah, that's not a team you can really look past. I'm glad they're playing them the third week as opposed to the first, because if you start Troy in game 1 instead of Illinois State, that is a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
Next up, at Minnesota.
Win. I don't know. Here's the thing with them.
Yeah.
They have a quarterback who transferred. I think he came from like a lower level, but he put up amazing stats. What is that? Is that a guy who just dominated lower competition, or is that going to translate? If he ends up being good, they are pretty legit because they are one of the few Big Ten teams that plays defense.
Are you talking about Dylan Whitkey? He's transferring from
I
Virginia
think
Tech.
so.
Did he transfer from somewhere?
They got 2 transfers.
Oh. I think it's Max Brosmer. They did get 2.
Yeah, they got one guy who like lower level, great stats, and then another kid who was like a former decent recruit.
Yeah.
So that'll depend because dude, they had probably the second worst quarterback in the Big Ten West last year, and they still probably made a bowl game. I don't even really remember, but I know that it was at least a close game. So if they can get a major jump there,
Yeah. So their quarterback Max Brosmer, he's coming from New Hampshire. He has 1 year left. He's a grad transfer. Then they also got Dylan Whitkey, who has 4 years of eligibility. So he's probably gonna be their QB of the future. But then you did mention their QB is like Calic Manis or whatever. Didn't he transfer to Rutgers and he's gonna play again? Like, who wants
really?
him? Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I believe that is the case. Right, yeah, so that quarterback from Minnesota is confirmed going to Rutgers. I don't know how that's possible. He's bad, but whatever. Okay, so we're 4-0 right here in the schedule. Next up, we have at Ohio State. Yeah, take Ohio State first quarter, first half, full game, money line, the whole thing. Next up, Washington at home, the defending national runner-ups. They don't have their coach. They don't have their quarterback. They don't have their top 3 wide receivers.
I am still taking Washington.
Okay.
I've heard from certain Iowa fans, former co-host of a few episodes, Hack. I know he's not as high on Washington, but Jed Fish is their new coach. He did a good job at Washington or Arizona last year to get the job. I think they have multiple 4-star quarterbacks. Is that a night game? If it's a night game, I might change my answer.
I don't know if that's been decided yet.
Okay. Well, I'm 50-50 on that one. Let's hold off on it. We'll put it as a question mark for now.
Okay. Next up, at Michigan State.
I think they're going to be better. I think that's a tricky game. I still think we win.
That's 5. Northwestern at home.
Win.
6. Wisconsin at home.
Win.
That's 7. What's over-unders at 7.5?
Yeah.
At UCLA, Friday night in LA.
Win.
8. Maryland, at Maryland.
Win.
9, and then Nebraska at home.
Win.
Yeah, 10, and then you really could have gave them an 11th. That's
So okay, even
comfortably
let's be conservative.
going
Yes.
over. Yeah.
So let's be conservative. They lose to Washington, they lose to Ohio State, and they lose one of Wisconsin or Nebraska.
Yeah.
That's 9.
They could
Even if you
still afford to lose one. They just need to go
yeah,
2-1 against at Michigan State, at UCLA, at Maryland. The Maryland
they're
win
going to
there
be
win.
favored in at least 9 games. I think they have a chance to be favored in 11 games. They would have to severely underperform or hit the injury bug, or there would have to be a few surprise teams that make a huge leap that we aren't thinking about right now. It just seems like every year the books do this because we're not a sexy name and everyone thinks about our offense and they think about the last game they watched of us, the last 2 games, getting curb stomped by Michigan and then the Tennessee game. So that's fresh in everybody's mind is because that's usually how our season ends is us getting embarrassed on national TV. So that gives you, 6 months of just ruminating on it. Um, there's usually value here. I feel like we've gone over like probably almost 90% of the time the last decade. I'd
Yeah.
have to look, but it just seems like we're always going over.
Yeah.
They'll never give us like a 9.5, which is probably what it should be most years. 8.5, 9.5 range.
I think it will probably get bet up to 8. I don't think it'll stay at 7.5.
An 8 as a push feels like a more fair number.
Yeah. Yeah. But all right, we got to add to the 6-pack Iowa over 7.5 minus 120.
I'm also really high on Ohio State coming into the year. That's not really a bold take. They are, they're number 2 in national title odds. NIL has changed everything, obviously, but Ohio State spent like more money than any team in the country on this year's roster. Oregon, I think, is number 2 and Oregon has the best NIL collective in the country, but Ohio State went all in on 2024. They brought back they had like 3 guys who would have been top 100 picks on the defense side of the ball that they paid to come back. They obviously went out and they got a quarterback transfer from Kansas State. Will Johnson? Something
I think
like
it's
that.
Will Howard.
Will Howard. Will Howard. Yeah, I knew it was some common
Common
name
name,
like
yeah.
that. And then Michigan obviously loses Harbaugh. USC is losing Caleb Williams. Penn State is still Penn State to me. Oregon lost Bo Nix. They replaced him with Dylan Gabriel. So I'm Ohio State to win the conference is plus 160. I would probably bet it, but at the same time, I'm like, what will the actual title game be? You could probably get them in December and get them at like what minus 150 when they play Oregon again. So I don't know if there's value there, but I do think they're going to win the conference.
Well, how does the Big Ten conference work now? So obviously we have 4 or 5 teams added in from the old Pac-12. Is it just
Yeah,
there's no
there's no
divisions? It's just one
divisions.
conference.
It's just best 2 records, yeah. And so Ohio State's schedule, I think, is pretty favorable. If I remember right, I think they play Michigan sooner this year. But I'll have to confirm this. They
still play him. No, they still play him November 30th.
Last, okay.
They play Oregon October 12th, though. So that's their 3rd Big Ten game. So that might be what you're thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
They also have at Penn State November 2nd. So they basically have one tough game each month.
Yeah, I think they're going to be okay. I probably won't bet it yet just because that's not enough value for me to lock up a future.
Yeah.
That money's going to sit there for 7 months from now almost.
That's the issue is like I'm looking at the odds to make the college football playoff. And remind me, is it 12 teams that are in the playoff
12.
and the first 4 get a bye? Top 4 seeds?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
So with that being the format, Ohio State, it is practically impossible for them not to be one of the 12 best teams in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's top 10 and then 2 at large, or however they're going to end up doing it.
I think it's like the 4 conference champs, and then there's at least one G5 or whatever they call them now, G5 team. Um, so and then there's another handful of at-larges.
But regardless, Ohio State is minus 650 to make the college football playoff. Do I want to lock up $650 to 100? No. But do I
See
think
that?
that's a good
Can you
bet?
parlay it? Because
Yes.
I tried to parlay it. I tried to parlay something like that with like an Ohio State and like I don't know,
No.
I'm just gonna make up Georgia. It wouldn't let me.
You
Yeah.
can't do it. Yeah, Georgia's only minus 500. The Hawks, though, to make the college football playoff, Iowa plus 680. Yes, to miss it minus 1200.
I already bet them 7-1. So I already got some
You got
CLV.
CLV. You're good, man. You're good.
Yeah, I mean, the way my brain worked was the Big Ten is probably going to get 3 teams in. So let's say Iowa makes the title game because Oregon and Ohio State play each other, right? Someone's got to lose. Someone has to lose between Ohio State and Michigan. Someone has to lose between Ohio State, Penn State. Like, there's going to be losses for those teams. Let's say Iowa gets in the title game and gets spanked. They're probably still in the top 12 because 2 of their losses would probably be to Ohio State.
Yeah.
And if Ohio State's the number 1 or number 2 team in the country, because that's what they're going to be coming in the season, if they're undefeated, they're not going to fall. You could have 2 or 3 losses to the number 2 team in the country, theoretically. Even if you finish third and like it's Ohio State and Oregon, there's a chance that you could benefit from not getting your ass beat, and you could be the third Big Ten team. That's a little that obviously is out of your control a little more because you need things to fall right in the other division conferences. But
Yeah.
um, it'll be interesting to see. I think the SEC could get 4 teams.
Just real quick, one thing I found interesting. So, like we said, Iowa is plus 650 to make it. Washington is plus 880 to make it. So does that mean Iowa's going to be a favorite at Washington? It is in Iowa
It could
City.
just be their schedule's different.
Yeah.
I don't think Ohio State and Washington play each other though.
No, they don't.
So
They
I
don't.
mean, they're gonna Vegas must not think that Washington's very good.
Washington, they still play Washington State, so that's cool if they keep that game. They have Iowa, USC, Penn State, Oregon. They have Michigan too. So basically, they play everybody but Ohio State. They do not have a lot of
Okay.
gimmies. They have Northwestern and Rutgers early, and then a lot of tough games with Indiana sprinkled in. So
Yeah, they're a wild card. Wisconsin's a wild card because year 2 of Fickle, they've had some roster turnover. Nebraska's probably going to start a true freshman. We'll see if he's the real deal. He's the number 1 overall recruit at quarterback. So Dylan Raiola or whatever.
yeah,
It'd be nice to just knock him out of a game. I can. That just seems like something Iowa would do. Nebraska's getting a lot of love. And, eventually, if you say it every year, eventually these guys that say it are going to be right.
they've only
I'm
been
just not
saying it
quick
for
to go
12
there.
year but yeah,
Yeah, I'm just not quick to go there yet. I do think they're getting better. Like Rule is obviously a better coach than Riley. I'm not. I'm not going to, or Scott Frost. I'm not going to dispute that.
So you already
Um,
know, as soon as you talked about Nebraska, I Googled Scott Frost. This was an article from April 3rd of this year, so about 2 months ago. Scott Frost dying for chance to coach after growing older and wiser from disappointing Nebraska tenure.
People forget he called Kirk Ferentz about the Iowa OC job.
Oh, that would have been something. He'll get another opportunity. I don't know if it's going to be at a Power 5 school right away, but it'll happen.
Yeah, there was a fun poll. I know we're just kind of rambling now, but there was a fun article about like ranking coaches, and it's just funny how like people have different rankings for like it's funny to see how much someone drops or falls in a year, and then it's funny to see like the differences of opinion. Like one guy had Kirk like 39th, and then another guy had him like 12th. And like one guy's argument is like, well, I wouldn't pick Kirk to run my program today. And it's like, well, yeah, that's partially because he's 70. Like they can't use that against him.
Yeah.
Or like the fact that he's boring. Like you can't use that stuff if you're trying to win. I get it. He's not perfect by any means, but I just thought those articles are always interesting. And they had Ryan Day number 2. And I know I texted you guys. I was like, who do you guys think is number 2? I think most people think Kirby Smart is 1, but you have no Saban. You have no. Jimbo Fisher's even gone, so there's one less guy at the title, and
Harbaugh.
then Harbaugh's gone. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, Ryan Day could literally get fired this year if he doesn't perform, and we're talking about him as the number 2 coach.
Yeah, well, the thing is, he gets fired, he can go wherever he wants. Everyone would
Yeah,
fire
I
their
know.
coach, other than Kirby Smart. Kalen DeBoer is staying at Bama. Dabo, obviously, his reputation has kind of gotten tarnished a little bit, partially because he's not as accepting of the whole NIL culture and how that goes. I think he's going to figure it out. He just kind of has to suck it up. Um,
Yeah, it's interesting
but
to
yeah,
hear him
that
talk about it.
yeah,
There's just not the big dogs anymore. It feels like it's kind of sad.
yeah. Well, there will be new big dogs eventually. Just takes time. So that's how it goes. All right. So yeah, nothing like talking a little football on May 30th. Can't beat that.
I got my first itch like this last week. I listened to my first few podcasts. I took like a detox of football. I
Hmm.
felt like I needed it. I'm sure the Cubs being awful to watch and just boring has had some impact on that. But and then the NCAA football game coming out. But yeah, it's just been on my mind more the last week or so.
I have one more football topic I want to talk about before I'll give a little tennis update, and we can talk some WNBA too. So they have FanDuel has odds for who's going to be the week one starting QB up, and I think there's value on one of these, and I want to add it to our six pack. So I'll start with this one, then we can read off the other ones. Actually, we'll do my play last. We'll look at the other ones here. So first one, Raiders, Gardner Minshew minus 225, Aiden O'Connell plus 172. I can't imagine they start AOC after how bad he was last year.
You're probably right, but I also think that they're delusional enough to think that there is still something in AOC, whereas Gardner Minshew is like a security blanket. You know what he is, and you can always rely on him as a backup. So
Yeah, but how much did they pay him? They just paid him 2 years, 25 million to sit on the bench with 15 guaranteed. That seems like a lot.
how much was I swear Gabbert or not Gabbert, Chase Daniel was making that kind of money and he was backing up Justin Fields. So
He was,
yeah, I don't know. You're probably right. I don't know.
yeah.
It doesn't really make much sense. Like if you don't believe in him, AOC, like I should just cut bait entirely.
A lot of these backups are making 5 to 7 million a year, which is why once you get in that 15 range, I just can't. I can't see them
That's a
not giving
big
him a
percent
chance.
of your. It's a big
Yeah,
percent of your cap.
yeah. So, yeah, think there's some value on Minshew. I don't think I would lay it though, because like you said, never know with the Raiders. Jacoby Brissett minus 350, Drake May plus 255 for the Patriots. Any thoughts on
I
that?
don't think they're going to play him right early because he would not do well, and it wouldn't be his fault. And then you would have
It just
of
messes
all of
confidence up.
yeah, I don't. You would be throwing a rookie in a really bad situation week one, and in a city that it expects greatness, and also in a city that wasn't like super excited about. Like I think they were a little indifferent on the pick compared to some other fan bases.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Next up, Giants. Daniel Jones minus 460, Drew Lock plus 320. I think it's Jones pretty undoubtedly, but I wish there was like a market of who will be the starting QB week 4 because Daniel Jones is either going to get hurt or he's going to get benched. He's
Hmm.
not good. They paid him a lot. They're stuck another year. They're going to play him. They have to. But Drew Lock, he really proved himself last year. That was a cool story out of that Monday night game for the
Hmm.
Seahawks when he threw that game-winning touchdown. So good to see a little bit of a career revival there. He can be one of those backups for the next 10 years, kind of like a Gardner Minshew. So I think that's cool to see. Your boy Justin Fields up in the Northeast in Pittsburgh. He's plus 560. Russell Wilson minus 1,000.
I mean, they basically said it's going to be Wilson. If there was a way I could bet like a snap count for the season, I would probably take the over on Fields. I think we all know Russell is starting the season. But who is playing quarterback for them in November is a different conversation.
Justin Fields might just be the kick returner in September.
He said that wasn't true. That
Okay,
whole
good.
story was.
All right, and here's the one that I like. Minnesota Vikings, Sam Darnold minus 210, JJ McCarthy plus 162.
You like JJ?
No, I like Darnold. Their
Uh-huh.
GM straight up said that they signed Darnold to start him. And I do not think they would lie about that. They had full intention of him starting before the draft. Obviously, they wanted a quarterback. They got him. Uh, but the Vikings, I just think it's Sam Darnold minus 210. That's what I'm adding to the 6-pack as long as you're cool with that.
Yeah, I'm fine. I feel like we rarely lay odds like that, but it's probably the right call.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, um their GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, he's from the Browns actually. He's just been big on Darnold, and he's just going to be that veteran that'll teach JJ McCarthy the ropes. Maybe hand it off to him later in the year, but I think you got to give Justin Jefferson a guy who knows how to at least throw the ball and has that experience right away. Not to say Darnold's better; or he's probably not going to be better, but he's only 5 years removed from being a top 3 pick. So,
Agreed.
okay.
I'm not sure if JJ is ready yet either. So
Yeah. All right. So Darnold minus 210 to start week 1 at QB. Cool. Okay, so speaking of the 6-pack, I still need to go and update our overall standings here, but I do want to give an update on tennis. Have you been following the French Open at all?
I bet Iga like minus 160. Am I in good shape? I have not looked.
Did you watch Iga's match yesterday?
No.
She played the craziest match of the tournament. She played 4-time major winner Naomi Osaka. Osaka recently took some time off because of she was having a baby, and then before that had some mental health issues. But basically, she still has this like raw power, especially on hard court, to get the job done. So they played a crazy match, and Iga did end up winning. Lucky for
Oh.
us. However, we did bet her to not drop a set the whole tournament, so we are losing a unit there. She
Oh.
lost the second set
Oh.
6-1.
Okay. Well,
Unfortunately.
I personally didn't bet that, so I feel okay. But for the 6-pack, it's
Yeah,
tough.
so she won 7-6, lost second set 1-6. Third set, she was down 5-2, came all the way back and won 7-5. So she actually saved a match point too. So every time Iga plays now, and I tell my friends to bet it, all I think about is my friends are going to kill me if she loses. But luckily, she won, and I think she's still sitting at like minus 160, which is just stupid because Danielle Collins and Yelena Ostapenko, who are on her side of the bracket, they're both out. They both fell out today. Oh, she's up to minus 210. So you already got CLV. Good job. As for the men's side, surprise, surprise, Novak Djokovic has played his way into looking really good. He's sitting there at plus 410. I think that's tremendous value. I just can't add that to the 6-pack because I hate that guy. He's on my Mount Rushmore with LeBron as my hated athlete. So can't stand him. If you are a Novak fan, I think that'd be a wise bet there. As Alcaraz at plus 250, he's looking a little shaky. Yannick Sinner is looking a little shaky at plus 390. I feel like he's got some injury concerns. He's also been spending a lot of time with his girlfriend, Kalinskaya. For those of you who know a lot about tennis, it's Nick Kyrgios' ex-girl. But basically, I just feel like these relationships in tennis don't work because then you're like watching the other person's match, and then it's like, well, shouldn't you be like resting or like eating dinner or getting ready for your next match? So Colin Sky last night stayed late to watch Yannick's match, then today she lost. So I don't know if there's correlation there, but I'd like to think so.
Do tennis players do they all have to date each other? Is it like some giant little, I won't even say it, but just
Yeah,
a little
I don't
cult
know.
of
I feel like they're all like obviously in really good shape, and most of them are pretty good looking. So kind of the mere exposure effect can get you. If you see the same girl in Rome, in Paris back to back weeks, you might fall in love. Never know.
Rum rum.
All right, so yeah, that's where we're at in tennis. Finals will be in a week and a half, so Sunday the 9th. So another sticking with another, I guess, niche sport, not so niche anymore, but the WNBA. So Caitlin Clark for Rookie of the Year this year, she's down to minus 650. I feel like there's value there. I don't know, unless she gets hurt, there's no possible way she loses that.
Who's the second best odds? Because
Um,
that Cam Brink or whatever, I watched her a little bit when CC played her.
yeah,
She's just tall. She doesn't really do anything.
she's
She had like
plus.
3 points.
Yeah, she's plus 700, and Angel Reese is plus 1200, and then there's nobody else even close.
Huh.
So
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably with you there. It's
yeah,
minus 650 is not terrible, I guess.
yeah,
If you can find some odds boost to play it with, I feel like FanDuel's been giving out these WNBA, and so is DraftKings giving out these WNBA boosts, and I've been using them pretty good. A lot of them are live game boosts, so I don't like those as much. But if you can just find like just a any bet type boost, might as well add that in. I mean, if you can get 30 to 50% off that, it's not terrible then at
yeah.
all.
No, I totally agree. I think a different way to attack the market though is, just like obviously we saw in college, she's throwing up triple doubles every other game, having these 30-point games. Finally, she broke out the other day and had 30. Her 3-point shooting hasn't been great, but I think we're going to see an uptick in field goal percentage and 3-point percentage. Rebounding and assists have been good. Her teammates have not been great. The coaching hasn't been
No.
great, but they've also played 8 games in like 2 weeks or whatever it is. So definitely just
Yeah.
getting used to that schedule. I think there's a learning curve there. Like, for example, they're 1-7 right now. They've played the most games in the league. The Las Vegas Aces have only played 5 games, and they're already at 8 and playing their 9th tonight. So,
That's crazy.
yeah, I think the WNBA was just trying to cash in on her right away.
Yeah, so that seems like a cash grab
Yeah,
while the iron's hot. She's got to be exhausted,
that's what I'm
right? I mean,
saying. So,
she played a whole season. She did a media tour. I mean, she had the draft and all that crap. Like, she's basically been playing basketball for like a full year. I know people be like, "Oh, she's young, blah blah blah." Obviously, she can physically do it, but she might just not be at like, she might be 1 or 2% off of her game.
yeah, mental fatigue is a thing too, and I do think next, or I guess it'd be this fall/spring when she can kind of just chill and work on some things based off watching film
Yeah,
and her experience. I think we're going to see a big jump next year too, and I think next year is
she's
when she's going
yeah,
to enter the
yeah,
MVP
I agree.
conversation. Yeah,
She's got a whole, not only just a whole organization on her back, and like she has like every Iowa fan still watches every game, and then you have the whole league, every network, everything depends on her. Like if she goes out there and just was like terrible every game, she would feel the weight of that for sure. Like she has to perform. She's
yeah,
probably been feeling that really since going back to like her record breaking streak. Or even back before, like the year before when they made that deep run. So, um, yeah, her coach is terrible. She is she's childish. It seems like.
yeah. I totally agree, and hearing some rumors. I don't necessarily want to start this, but I think I may have to. I'm hearing some rumors that Lisa Bluter may come out of retirement and coach the Fever next year. But you didn't hear that from
Hey,
me.
hey, we got this. We got this time stamped, May 30th, 2024.
We'll
We
we'll have
want
our
credit.
yeah we'll have our people keep reaching out and figure things out. But I think unless
Yeah, we
there's a
got some boots on the
material
ground.
unless there's a
We actually have
material
some.
change.
I'll say we've got some boots on the ground in Indianapolis, but more importantly tonight, we have some boots on the ground in Minneapolis. We have a certain somebody actually living with a T Wolves player right now. So we've got some scoops. If the season ends tonight, though, we don't really have anything for you guys.
We'll try to get this guest on. We'll try to get him as a guest next week. See if we can
Okay.
wrangle him up. Learn a little bit about this NBA series because
He
next week
he
we are gonna
he
have
was
to
with the
preview.
playbook and or the scouting report he had with him. Yeah.
Next week we're gonna have to preview the NBA finals. Obviously, we have Game 5 is going on right now, but do you think there's
I
any
did bet.
chance that the T Wolves come back? Yeah, go ahead. What were you gonna
No,
say?
no. I was just gonna say I bet Luca to win Finals MVP after Game 4 when they lost. I thought that might be my last chance to get any value unless they get down in the finals like 2-0 or 2-1, something like that.
Yeah,
I got it like around 2 plus 230. Because I felt like if the Mavs, because I looked at like the Mavs to win the finals were um, significantly lower than that, and I was thinking, how would the Mavs win without Luka as the MVP? And the only way would really be Kyrie just going off.
yeah,
Um, and that's not the worst outcome in my life if Kyrie goes off and wins an NBA Finals. So it was worth it for me.
yeah. No, I like that. And the first game is Thursday the 6th, so maybe we can try to record. I don't know, maybe early next week, maybe Tuesday night we can record, preview that finals. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of other finals MVP looks or like props or when's the series going to end and whatnot. So once we have a little bit more information on who's going to be in that game against the Celtics, we can provide some plays there. So looking forward to that. But it's pretty crazy if the season goes 7 games or the finals go 7 games. Game 7 isn't until June 23rd. Just ridiculous, dude. We're gonna be in Chicago for a bachelor party that weekend. So
That is
pretty
crazy.
pretty crazy.
Oh, we forgot to mention some NBA draft news that came out last night.
Hmm.
Payton Sandfort returning to the Iowa Hawkeyes, and his brother Bryce Sandfort let everybody know that they should please respect Payton's decision no matter what with this emoji. So
Yeah,
we're here respecting it. We respect Payton's decision. No matter what he would have chosen, we would have respected it,
yeah,
and we wish him the best of luck.
yeah. This is a big
Thank you, Price.
respect. Yeah. Um, what I do want to say here is this was a huge adjustment to my power rankings. I moved Iowa from 18th, last in the Big Ten. I moved them up to 16th. So they passed Washington and Penn State, and I think that they have a chance to compete for the 15th best team with Oregon. So that's
We're
where I'm
actually
at.
Butler fans this year. We're rooting for Butler.
Yeah, Iowa Junior over in Indy.
Yep.
Dude, yeah, I I don't know how much NIL Sanford's getting, and yes, I like Iowa basketball, but they're bad. The draft is so weak. I cannot imagine how this ends up being a good move for him. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess if he's on Fran's weight program, he could he could gain a bunch of weight, get stronger. So we know how that's gone in the past. So
Yeah.
as long as
Yeah.
he's on Fran's weight program and Fran's free throw program, he should be a lottery pick next
There,
year.
if as long as Fran is still advising his players to eat a bowl of ice cream with milk poured on top, he's gonna be just fine.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Iowa hoops, baby. Cannot wait. If anyone is interested in coming out to an Iowa game next year, I think they're playing at USC and at UCLA. So would love to meet some fans out here in Los Angeles. But
We'll set up our own version of was it the Hawks Nest or
yeah,
the Swarm Collective meetup? We'll do a Bet GPT one out there right outside.
exactly. All you people who keep putting the QR codes everywhere, make sure not
Yeah,
to, when you put the QR code on, like throw your trash away. Make sure you stick it in the place where there's actually stickers. We don't want these up in bad places. So that's all we ask.
yeah. No littering.
Yeah. Okay. We'll cap this off here. It's been about an hour, so thanks for tuning in, everybody. Whole lot of basketball going on this weekend. I pray Scotty Scheffler stays out of trouble with the authorities. And
Hmm.
let's just enjoy some time and time with our friends and family this weekend. But looking forward to, I do want to say real quick, U.S. Open golf, the Scotty Scheffler reference made me bring that up. That's June 13th through the 16th. I'm going to try very hard to get Keel Huber on. He's a very busy married man now, but I do want to present to him another, I guess you call it promotion or another achievement for BetGPT. Right now, he's just our golf correspondent. Right now, when he comes on, I'm going to offer him the position of expert in golf law as well, considering that he is an
Oh,
attorney and
right.
kind of the golf news regarding Scotty's arrest. We'll get his breakdown on that. So, um,
Yeah.
this is a very well-rounded pod. We have experts from every single category possible. So tell your friends, tell your family, buy some merch. More info on the PCA merch giveaway coming soon. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. This has been another episode of Bet GPT.